Well, I'm just hoping Chaim Fear walks in here in a minute.
I put in a request for Chaim Svi to come back and join our shiur. So let's see how fast Rick Shiloh works.
Okay. The following are the relatives that disqualify you from being an aid or a daim. Achiv, your brother, the achei aviv, or your uncle, the achei imo, your maternal uncle, ubal achoisoi, your brother-in-law, ubal achois aviv, and your uncle who married the sister of your father, ubal achois imoi, and your uncle who married the sister of your mother, ubal imoi, and your mother's husband. We're going to see if he's also your father or not. V'chamov, and your father-in-law, the gisai, and your brother-in-law. The gisai means if you two married sisters. Hein, not only are they pasula edus and to dan on you, but it's them, uveneyan, and their children, which means you're not allowed to say edus for your uncle or even for your great uncle, v'chasneyan, and their sons-in-law as well. V'chargoi levadoi. But a choyreg, which is if someone marries a woman and she brings a son into the marriage, her own son, then he himself cannot say edus for you. You cannot say edus for him, but his children and his chasnei, his sons-in-law, they could say edus for you, and you could say edus for them. Rabbi Yosy said, Zum Mishnis Rabbi Kiva, who clearly says it doesn't make a difference if these relatives are from your father's side, who you would yarshin them, or from your mother's side, who you have less financial interest in because you wouldn't yarshin them anyway, they're still going to be usher to say edus for. Avol Mishnah Rishoina, but in the first Mishnah, doidoi, an uncle, then doidoi, and a cousin, but only through the father's side, v'chol haroyu liyarshay, anybody who can yarshin you, v'chol akar of loy, ba'oisay, and anybody who's related to you at either the time of the event that you're witnessing or at the time that you're saying testimony, either one, if you're a relative during either one of those times, you would be disqualified from saying edus. What about how you karav in Nisrachik? Before the event even occurred, you were related. You were somebody's son-in-law. V'nisrachik. And then the marriage broke up. The wife died. And then the incident happened that the son-in-law witnessed. Then there is a kosher, because he's no longer related at the time of the event and at the time of the testimony. I'm sorry? It could be divorced too. Yeah, it could be divorced. The reason why it's died is because of the next concept over here. What if the wife dies and therefore they're not married anymore, but they're still surviving children, meaning even though the marriage is dissolved because the wife died, but there's children, that makes them still connected. You're still connected. If you like somebody, if you hate somebody, now of course that's too broad a term, so the Mishnah defines it. During the week of Sheva Brachas, your right-hand man, your closest friend, during that week, you wouldn't be neman for him. And Saine means kol shaloi diber imay shloisha yamim be'eva. If there's somebody who, because you were angry at him, that's why you didn't speak to him in 3 days, you wouldn't be able to say edus for him. Amar loi. So they told him, Yehuda, an oyev and a soine would not be disqualified from saying edus. Yisrael al kach. No one's going to make up a fake story to hurt somebody that he hates, or make up a fake story to help somebody who he likes. So although they couldn't be a poitzik on your behalf, because it's hard to see schus for someone that you don't like, hard to see chayv for somebody that you do like, but an aid you could be. Zok Tahela Gemara. We know Hanamili, where do we know that relatives cannot say edus? Zok Gemara the Tana Rabbanim. It says in the pasuk, "Yumtzu avo shalbonim." Ma Talmud loimer. What is the chiddush of this pasuk? Im lelamed. Literally, what it means. Yumtzu avos ba'avin bonim ubanim ba'avin avos. If it literally means dying because of the avera of another person, Harei kfar nemar ish becheto yumasu. The pasuk already says a person dies for his own averes, not for someone else's averes. Elo, you know what the pasuk must be coming to teach us? Lo yimsu avos al banim, meaning be'edus banim. A father shouldn't die due to the testimony of his sons. Uvanim lo yimsu al avos, and children shouldn't die due to the testimony of their fathers. Zok the Gemara. Ubanim ba'avin avos loy. Are you telling me that children never get punished for the affair of their parents? Vaksiv, the pasuk says, "Poiked avin avos al banim." So you see, sometimes banim do get punished for the affair of their father. That's only if they're continuing to do the same affairs that they saw by their father. Kiditanya, the af bavoinos avoisam itam yimaku. They will be hurt by their father's affairs. Kisha oichsin masay avesein biyadei. Maybe even if they're not repeating the verse of their father, maybe they'll still get punished for the verse of their father. The Torah says a person only dies for his own verse. So even if the Torah says in certain cases he'll get punished for his father's verse, that must be only Yarei Kisha'ichsin Maseh Avesein Biyadei. Correct, Gemara V'loi. Are you telling me you don't get punished for somebody else's affairs? Ish b'avainachav. Melamed shakulum areivin zebazeh. We see everybody is responsible for everybody else. In Arvos Moyav, we were given arevis. We were given responsibility over our friends. There are those who want to say that that's why it's called Arvos Moyav, because that's where they got the chiv of arevis. Dr. Gemara, the only time arevis implicates somebody else, that's if you could have stopped them, if you could have been a positive influence to prevent aver. But if you didn't, then you wouldn't get punished for somebody else's affairs. It's very interesting because there would be a good logical argument to make why a relative shouldn't be Neman. Yet the pasuk not only wants a general raya, we want a detailed raya for every single scenario as to why the edus wouldn't be accepted. So Ashkechan Avos Labanim Ubanim Lavos. The Layumsu Avos Labanim. Layumsu Banim Lavos only tells us that the only two people are disqualified are a father to a son or a son to a father. The Choshekin Avos Ladodi. Surely one father can't say edus for another father, meaning two brothers wouldn't be able to say edus for one another. There's a whole reason why you can't say. So Banim Lavos Navos Labanim means it's plural, right? What do you mean avos? There's two brothers that are fathers, and they can't die for ages coming from either one of the children. So that also excludes uncles. But banim levanim minalan. How do we know that two first cousins are not neman to say edus on each other? Zok to Gemara, because in Cain lichtev kra layumsu avos al ben ben alavos. My banim. Even the two sons, meaning the first cousins, would not be neman for each other. Ashkechan banim lahadadi. We know that banim cannot say edus for each other. What about banim la'alma minala? Could you have two relatives say edus for somebody else? Rashi says, how do we know sheyiu shnei kroivim psulim lahayir al adam minashol? How do you know two relatives, two first cousins, wouldn't be neman to be a set of Edom where the subject is a completely different third party? Minala. Amar Rabbi Bachama Svarahu. That's a svara. Kidetanya. Eina Edom nasan zaymimin ad sheyazu mushneim. The halach is if a pair of Edom come and say Edus, Reuben killed Shimon, they will not become Edom zaymimin if only one of the Edom are disqualified with Imanu Hayisem. Rather, they both have to become disqualified in order for them to take on a status of Edom Zaymin. Correct the Gemara, based on that, if you're going to tell me that two relatives can form a pair of Edom, in a sort of backhanded type of way, one relative is causing the death of the other relative through Zaydas. Because we said Edus together, And only if we're both muzam could we both be killed. So indirectly, my edus helped to implicate you as an edom, because had I not said edus and not been muzam as well, you wouldn't be punished. So in a way, you see quite clearly that you have see quite clearly that if two relatives would be able to say edus together, we would have a case of one implicated the other. Amalei Rava said that's not a logical argument, because if you're going to use this backhanded way to claim that that's called saying edus on your friend, we know the halacha is, in order for someone not to have to produce a shtar to prove that he purchased a property, if he has witnesses that could testify that for 3 years he lived in this property uncontested, then that's enough that he should be able to claim that the property is his without a shtar. What happens if he doesn't have one set of edim that could testify in all 3 years? What happens is you have 3 sets of edim. Now, out of these 3 sets of edim, one was the same aid, so one aid said edus on all 3 years, but on the second member of this edus was a different person each year. So you have Reuven, who said edus together with Levi for year 1. You had Shimon, who said edus with Levi for year 2, and you had Yehuda, who said edus with Levi for year 3. Now Reuven, Shimon, and Yehuda are brothers. So here you have 3 brothers. They're all participants in a different edus, right? Each one is referring to a different year. The halach is that's good edus. This would be considered 3 separate edus, one for each year. Now, in order for them to be muzam and be punished for trying to unlawfully stealing a property from Reuben and giving it to Shimon through their testimony, only if they're all muzam together do we say that they're edim zaymin. But if you only muzam one set or another set, that would not make them zaymin, because they all are representative of one 3-year chazakah. So kum techais nimtza eid zaymin mishalom mama beidis achav. Based on this, does anybody say the 2 brothers could implicate each other? Yet here, it's only because of the edus of my brother that was in a different year that I am mechuyev in hazama. So elamai, you can't bring any raya from hazama just because you could be muzam only based on the testimony of a brother doesn't prove anything, because ela hazama ma'al makasi. Hazama is a special chiddush haTorah, and it's a new din hazama. It's not based on the edus of up until now. So therefore, as the Rashi says, el hazama me'al makasu al yidei mazimin oisam hein mishalman. Their chiyuv to pay is by receiving, by acquiring a status of edim zaymin, which is given to them by the new set of edim that came along and said imanu or yisem. It's not dependent on their edus and earlier. We don't consider it that the original testimonies are part of what makes hazama, which actually fits very nicely into the svara that we had yesterday of eid zaymin mekan labon nifsal, because vibalt edim zaymin is a chiddush. We don't look at it like he is already implicated from before. Rather, when the 2 eid hazama come, it's a new din of hazama, and therefore you can't bring a raya to the fact that the two relatives can implicate each other. So Achanami Hazama Melmakas. So we're back to square one. How do you know that 2 relatives can't be part of the same set of Edom? Ella, I'll tell you why. Because Imkain Lichtev Kra Uben Alavos. Instead of saying Yimsu Avos Albanim, Banim Alavos, the Jews said Ben Alavos in single tense. Inami, it should have said Yimsu Avos Albanim, Oiheim Alavos, referring to the Banim. Inami Heim Alavos. My Ubanim Alavos. The fact that the Torah used the extra word Ubanim, we learn Afilu Banim La'alma. Even saying edus for a third party, an unrelated third party, 2 brothers, 2 kroivim cannot be part of one set of edus. All of these limudim that we've learned so far disqualify relatives that are through your father. But what if your relatives through your mother, midala? So again, you see, we're not using logic because in Svar there shouldn't be such a big difference. But the Gemara requires a pasuk specifically for Kroivayim as well. Amarka avos trei zivni. It says Layumsu avos albanim banim al avos. Didn't have to mention avos twice. Tell us that even from Mitzara Aim is also a kurva that will pass you for Edis. You don't need two psukim telling you Kroivayim. We will apply it to relatives to your mother. Ashkechan l'chayva. We have psukim says yum to avos albanim. What type of testimony are you saying? And it's not accepted if it's to condemn your father or condemn a relative. There we see you're not memon to condemn a relative. How do you know that you're not memon to say something that would be beneficial to your relative? So the Rishonim asks, it's a kal v'chomer. Madich, you not believe to harm someone who you would naturally want to protect. Kol shekin, you shouldn't be believed to help them. So the Rishonim say, "Einechanami." But in Masir Minadin, we want to bring a pasuk for it. Sometimes you find Milsir the Asham kal v'chomer torach because of Omakra. So Omakra yumtzu trei zimni. Right? It says la yumtzu avos albanim and la yumtzu banim alavos. The fact that it's yumtzu twice, if we don't need the second yumtzu to tell us chayva. Say that the Torah is teaching us you're not neman to say edus for a relative, even if your edus will be beneficial to them. Again, lo yumtzu is a case of dinin nefashos. Mominus minolam. How do you know that by dinin mominus as well you're not neman if you're a karev? Amarkra mishpat echad yilachem. The Torah combines all of the halachas of mishpat hashav alachem. The rules that apply to dinin nefashos apply across the board to Dinei Mominus as well. So the Gemara painstakingly went through every little occurrence, every possibility, and showed him a card from the Torah that these Edom would not be Neman for each other. Amar Rav Achi. I'm sorry, Amar Rav. That was a mistake. Amar Rav. Rav said, Achi Abba, the brother of my father, meaning my uncle, Lo Yoidli. He could not say Edom on my behalf. Who he himself, Ubunay and his son. So my first cousin cannot say Edus for me. The chasnai, and the boy who married my female first cousin, can't either say Edus for me. Afani, so too I myself. Loy oyed loy, I cannot say Edus on behalf of my uncle. Not only can I not say Edus for my uncle, Ani ubani, my son, can't say Edus for his great uncle. The chasni and my son-in-law, who's only related through marriage, cannot say Edus for his wife's great uncle. Break the Gemara v'amai. The subject of the Edus is the uncle, right? He's the subject. He's generation number one. I, as the nephew, am generation number two. My children are generation number three. This is third generation, saying Edus on behalf of first generation. Ve'anan, and we learned Sheni b'Sheni Tanan. We learned Sheni b'Sheni cannot say Edus, so you're not allowed to say Edus for your first cousin. Sheni b'Rishon Tanan, you're not allowed to say Edus for your uncle. But Shlishi b'Rishon Lo Tanan, we didn't learn anywhere that you cannot say Edus for a third generation if you're separated by a generation. I'm sorry? Great uncle. Zok to Gemara, you do see that in the Mishnah. You know why? Because my chasnoi the katani b'masnisim. When the Mishnah said who ubenoi v'chaisnoi, we touched it. Him, you can't say Edus for your uncle, nor can your son say Edus for your uncle, right? Nor can your son-in-law say Edus for your uncle. Zok to Gemara, that's not how you should read it. The way you should read it is, you cannot say Edus for your uncle. His son, your son cannot say Edus for your uncle, and your son's son-in-law cannot say Edus for your uncle. So Zok to Gemara, my chasna, the katan b'misnisen, chasan b'noi. It means your son's son-in-law. It's your son's son-in-law. So Zok to Gemara, my chasna, the katan b'misnisen, ache aviv, your uncle ubenoi and his son, which is your first cousin, v'chaisnoi and the first cousin once removed because it's going one generation down. No. For most things. Hi Chaisnoi, the Masnisin Abenoikoi. It's referring to his son's son-in-law. The Avashlishi Hi Chasen. So this Chasen is going to be third generation. Lukaman Porach Imkein Havashlishi B'Sheni. That's a different side. So Frek Gemara. So the Listni Ben Benoi. Why should we say the son-in-law of your son? We're just trying to create another generation. So it should just say his son. Why Davke his son-in-law? So Milsa Agav Orcha Kamashmalan. The Mishnah is telling us a side chiddush that what the Baal Ki'ishtoi, when it comes to Edus, the husband has exactly the same status as his wife. So now we have a makar that even Shlishi Berishon would not be Naman, because you have the I'm second generation to my uncle, and my son is third generation is Shlishi, and even his son is also. Correcting more about Lahada Tani Reb Chia. Reb Chia said about our Mishnah, Shmoina Avos. There's 8 fathers, and
Yosy, how do you see it from? How do you see it?
And the Ben Benoi, which is 8 times 3, which would be 24. Now, if you do a count in the Mishnah of the Avos, we're not quite going to get 8. We're going to get 10. And we're going to have to leave that question for Amud Beis. But let's have a look. The Elohim Akroivim, let's count it up. Achiv is number 1. That's the first father we're talking about. Achei Aviv is number 2. Achei Imo is number 3. Baal Achoisa is number 4. Baal Achois Aviv is number 5. Baal Achois Imo is number 6. Baal Imo is number 7. Chomav is number 8. Gisai is number 9. And Chargoi is number 10. So Chargoi Levadoi, it's not Avu B'noi, it's Chargoi Levadoi. But you have at least 9. The Gemara is assuming you only have 8. So one of these items is going to have to be deleted, and we're going to see on Amud Beis, Gisai could be, it's not Haim Uveneim. So that's where the 8, the Reb Chia said on our Mishnah that there's 8 avos. It's all of the items in our Mishnah except Chargoi and Gisai. So the problem is, Reb Chia said that there's 8 times 3, which is 24. The problem is, if you're going to add now a whole new generation, 8 times 3 is 24, because it's going down 2 generations, as Rashi says. Shmoinov is in B'neim, V'chasneim, you add the children and the sons-in-law, Havachav Dalid, that's 8 times 3, which is 24. Afal Gafrek Rashi, the B'masnisin Tisha Tanan, Bar Mecharabgoy. So Rashi points at this same kasha. If you count it, it's actually 9, even if you don't count Chargoi, She'ein Ben, V'chasanimoy, the Kaman Porach, the Gemara is going to deal with that on Amud Beis. But at the end of the day, Hani, Tolosan Utartnav, it works at the 32, because there's Ches Avos, 8 Avos, there's Ches Bonim, and 8 Chesanim, so that's 24, and the Ches B'nei Bonim, and you're looking for an additional generation. So it should be 32. The way we want to learn Pshat in our Mishnah, that Choishnoi means the son-in-law of your son, that should be a total of 32, which would not be consistent with what Chia explained our Mishnah. We have to roll back what we said. Chosnoi means your son-in-law. It doesn't mean your son's son-in-law. So once again, where do you see Shlishi Berishon would be not Nema? So Vamai Karlei Chasan Benoi. Why do we it really means Chosnoi Mamish. So why do we consider it? Why did Rav consider it Chasan Benoi, to extract from there that it means an extra generation? Is Kivan de Alma Kaosi, since he's not really the son, he's not really your son, he's your son-in-law. He's at Tzika Kimina. He's not really another generation from bloodline. We consider it as if it was a generation further, Kidor Achadoni. So therefore, if a son-in-law is going to be considered not believable as an aid, that means the next generation, a blood relative, would also be. Why did Rav consider that a later generation? He's still your son-in-law, still on the same generation as your son. Even the chason have a mizare. Lemaisa, your son-in-law is not a blood relative. Umay alma also. he's joined the family from the outside. Kedor Shlishi Choshev Leirav. He considers that a third generation. V'hilchach bani nami lachei abba. So too your children to the brother, so an uncle, to have a shlishi berisha apostle. So the great uncle, which is shlishi berisha, would be apostle. Okay, zog to Gemara weiter. Kimid almak asi kedor achada. Fragt the Gemara, ihachi havalei shlishi b'sheni. Now what we're saying is we know that your son will not be believed to say edus for his first cousin, right? We said that already. He won't be Naaman to say edus for his first cousin. Your son-in-law is like a third generation, right? Because Rav considers a son-in-law as if it's a generation down. So now you're saying that you're not even allowed to say edus for your first cousin if you're once removed. But that's not true. Rav actually shlishi b'sheni. We know Rav says that if you have two first cousins and one is a generation lower, they would be Naaman one on the other. Two first cousins of the same level cannot say edus for each other. That's called sheni b'sheni. But shlishi b'sheni means they're first cousins once removed, which means they're further away. And according to Rav, that's allowed. That's Naaman for edus. But based on what our Mishnah is saying, that Chosna is considered a later generation, it shouldn't be allowed. Ella, we have to abort this whole thing of this Chosna thing, that Chosna like a third generation. We're aborting the whole svara, and we're starting from the drawing board again. Where did Rav get it from? That you cannot say edus for your great uncle. Rav, the Amar Rabbi Lozer. Because Rav holds of the sheet of Rabbi Lozer. The Tanya Rabbi Lozer Omer. Rabbi Lozer said, Kishem shachi abba, just like my uncle, lo yo'id li, he cannot say edus for me. So my uncle cannot say edus on my behalf. Who? He cannot say edus for me. Uvanoi, my first cousin, cannot say edus for me. The Chosnoi and the husband of my first cousin cannot say edus for me. Zok Rabbi Lozer, kach ben achi abba. So too, the son of my father's brother, my first cousin, lo yoyed li, he himself can't say edus for me. Who? He himself, being my first cousin. Ubenoi, who is a first cousin once removed, he can't either say edus for me. The Chosnoi and his son-in-law. So therefore, if he cannot say edus for me, he surely cannot say edus for my father, because my father is even closer to him. So you see from Rabbi Lazar that shlishi b'rishon cannot say edus. The problem is, you also see from Rabbi Lazar that a shlishi b'sheni cannot say edus, because he can't say edus for me either. And Rav specifically said that a shlishi b'sheni could say edus. So how could you say that the makor of Rav is Rabbi Lazar if Rabbi Lazar specifically says that a first cousin once removed cannot say edus, and Rav holds it good? Rav Akshur shlishi b'sheni. Rav held the first cousin once removed could say edus. We said Rabbi Lazar is a makor for Rav, but that doesn't mean Rav agrees to everything Rabbi Lazar said. Lagabe that he said that he could not say edus for your great uncle, that he accepts from Rabbi Lazar, and that would be Rav's makor. He has it from the Tana Rabbi Lazar. But upligi upol legalei bechada. But that chumer that the Tana Rabbi Lazar said that a first cousin wants not say edus, that Rav does not accept. My time of the Rav. What's the svara of Rav? Zakti Gemara, the Amar Kra, the pasuk says, "Lo yumtzu abbas al banim u banim." There's an extra vav. The Rabbi Star Acher, the vav tells us that the next generation, the third generation, cannot say edus either for the first generation. Rabbi Lazar, who holds not only can the third generation not say for the first generation, but the third generation can't even say for the second generation. Rabbi Lazar al bonim amar achmana psulei de avis shadi abonim. We treat avis like the bonim. If you're not neman to say for your great uncle, then you're not going to be neman to say for your cousin either, because we treat the father like the son. Zog to Gemara, Rabbi Lazar, Karav Svirle, the Vavel Rabbi Sasa, but he takes it a step further. V'dorish al bonim lememar, the chol the patzal la'avos, anyone, if you're apostle to say edus for somebody's father, apostle abonim, by definition, you're also going to be apostle to say edus for the children of that father. Hilchach the shlishi berisha apostle, just like you cannot say edus for your great uncle, shlishi b'sheni nami apostle, you won't be able to say edus for your first cousin if you're one removed. Okay, that teaches that alone. Omer Rab Nachman. Rab Nachman said, Achi Chamoisi, the brother of my father-in-law, lo ya'id li, he cannot say edus for me. Oh, sorry, the brother of my mother-in-law cannot say edus for me. Ben Achi Chamoisi, the first cousin of my wife, right? The first cousin of my wife, lo ya'id li, cannot say edus for me. Ben Achois Chamoisi, the son of the daughter of my mother-in-law. So once again, it's my wife's first cousin. Lo ya'id li, cannot say edus for me. The Tana Tuna, and the Mishnah supports us because it says Bal Achoisai, the husband of my sister, Ubal Achois Ovid, and the husband of my aunt, who happens to be the sister of my father, Ubal Achois Imai, and the husband of my mother's sister, Hein Uvenein V'chasnein. So the reciprocal of these relationships mentioned in the Mishnah include Achi Chamoisi and Ben Achi Chamoisi, because those are included in those relationships. It's just a matter of are you looking at it from the perspective of nephew or from the perspective of the uncle. Omer Ravashi, Ki Avinan Be'ula, when I was by Ula's place, Iboy we had the following shayla. Ache Chamav Ma, the brother of my father-in-law, what would be the halacha? Could I say edus for him? Ben Achi Chamav, my wife's first cousin, Mahu, Ben Achais Chamav, the first cousin of my wife, to her sister, Mahu. Omer Lan, Ula told us, Tinitua, it's actually included in the list of people in our Mishnah. Because it says Achiv, V'achei Aviv, his brothers, his uncles, V'achei Imoi, and the brothers of his mother, Hein Uvenein V'chasnein. So let's see Rashi. Chosen Bal Achoisi Poseli, the son-in-law of my sister, Bal Achoisi, my sister's son-in-law, is Poseli. He cannot say edus for me. Vani loy, and I cannot say edus for him. Shani Achi Chamoisai. I am the brother of his mother-in-law, which is listed off in our Mishnah. Vani lechason Bal Achois Avi, and me to the son-in-law of the husband of my father's sister, basically my first cousin's husband. Ben Achi Chamoisani. I am the son. I'm the son of the brother of his mother-in-law. So basically, what Rashi is showing is all these relationships are the same relationship as mentioned in the Brisa, but from a different relationship, from a different perspective.
So Yosy, so they can't be.
Law, the Mizban, putting on Talmud Beis, you're dealing. No, he wanted to buy papers. He had to buy cloth. I guess he was writing Svarim. He had to buy paper. So he showed up to a store. Imagine he walks into a store where you buy crafts. What's the store in Toronto where you buy crafts? There's Michael's, yeah. So I walked into Michael's and I'm shopping.
Yosy?
Somebody comes over to me, boy minei, Mao Shiyoid Adam Ve'eshes Chargay. Can you say Edos?
I don't think he hears
on
you.
behalf of the wife of your stepson?
So Yossi muted us. It wasn't
in the
one
middle of
side.
managing
Because
my
Yossi has his
project,
speakerphone on
business
mute.
hours. You ask me questions, but that's how it worked.
Hang on, we gotta go.
Shopping in Michael's.
Dave, send them our regards.
Questioned wherever they go. Because Makalik Learning, and he was available 24/7 to anybody who would petition him to answer his items.
No, but his microphone is muted.
I mean, he was buying Gevilim. He went to the crafts area, right? So Boy
Yossi,
Yossi,
you see our
Amri,
Dave hears us?
Baal Keishtoy.
Yeah, I
wife-
hear you. I hear
a
you.
husband has the same
Yeah, but
status
Yossi's not hearing any of
when it
this,
comes
right?
to these things.
No, he heard you before, but
Oh,
he's not
that's right.
I
hearing you.
know, but I think when he pressed the
Wonder if it's a
recording
problem
on,
with my audio. So give me 1 second.
it's on his side.
Test my audio. I apologize.
You wanna do that?
I did hear
I'm
that
not-
before. So let me test it.
Okay, Yossi, you can hear us? Fix
Oh, you're
the
right.
incoming
My
sound.
audio is not working now.
I wanted to blame it on a
Audio
cue.
stopped working.
Okay, tell me we have to go, okay?
We're having mincha now.
I have to go too.
No, my audio is not working. Let me turn it off and on again.
I'm gonna call them up here.
Let's see, we're on Bluetooth.
Now I can hear you.
Oh, now you can hear us, right, Yossi?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my anchor went berserk. I apologize.
Oh, I know, it had to be plugged in, but I just want to ask, so none of these people can be A-Day Kedushin, right? You can't give them kibbut under the chuppah, right?
Well, not for their family.
That's what I meant. No, I wasn't extending it to beyond, right?
That's
They
right.
can't be nominees either, I guess, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Wow, okay.
Okay, Zok Tehillah Gemara. Although there is a shaila if the relative of an arusa, is considered related or not, but I guess you still can't use them for Eda Kedushin, even though before the Kedushin they're not related; they're only related after the Kedushin. But it probably wouldn't work. Zok Gemara Vayter Besur Amri Bal Ki'ishtay. So therefore you cannot say Eidos for the wife of your stepson, because it's as if you're saying Eidos directly for your stepson. But Pumbedisa Amri, Pumbedisa they said, Isha Kabaila. You see the difference? Baal Kishtoi or Isha Kabaila. That's right. Who's reading the pads? But so Baal Kishtoi, the Isha Kabaila. It's both. Okay. Zog to Gemara. 1 second. Baal Kisha and Isha Kabaila. You need both over here. Baal Kishtoi. You need, because this is the wife of your stepson, but it's your stepson. So the only reason why there's the connection is because Isha Kabaila. The Baal, it's her son. It's as if it's her husband's son. So we're actually using two connections of Isha Kabaila. We're considering the wife of the stepson as if she was the stepson himself, and we're considering the stepson to be my son, just like he's his mother's son. So you're using that principle in a double way. How do we know that an Isha has the same status as her husband? You're not allowed to do znus with the brother of your father, as el ishtoi loisekare. You shouldn't have relations with his wife. Doidoschahi, she is your aunt. Straight to Gemara, v'haloi eishes doidahi. She's not your aunt. She's the wife of your uncle. Yet the Torah calls her your aunt. So you see from here, mechlal d'isha kabayla. We give her the same status as the husband, and the Torah calls her doidoscha. The Torah refers to her as your aunt. Zok to Gemara weiter. Ubal Imoy, the husband of your mother, who ubenoi v'chasnei. So the husband of your mother and his son. So his son is really your stepbrother. You have zero blood relation with him, right? So there's actually, I believe it's a Yad Ramah, the Rishonim say, and Rashi also alludes to it, that your stepbrother, you could say Eidos for. I hear it says you can't. You could only say Eidos for your stepbrother if there's a half brother in the middle. Meaning, if your mother remarried some guy and he had a child, that's no relation to you. But if after that your mother has a child with this new husband, so now you're a half brother to that child, and he's a half brother to the stepbrother as well, he makes the link. So therefore, the Yad Ramah says the only time your stepbrother is considered your brother and you cannot say edus for him is only if there was a his, a hers, and an ours. And only then would it be that way. Okay. If you look at Rashi, Rashi alludes to it. Ben sheyesh lebal imay meisha acheres pasaloi mepnei shu achi achiv, because he's the brother of my brother. How is he the brother of my brother? It must mean that there was another brother born, and he's my brother's brother. Zok to Gemara weiter. What do you mean? The son isn't that if there's a half brother there, so it's your brother, mamish. We're referring to the stepbrother. Rabbi Chisda actually allowed a stepbrother to say edus for each other. So they asked him, you didn't hear what Rabbi Yirmiyah said, that a stepbrother did not say edus? I disagree. If you're going to tell me that a stepbrother you could say edus for, so what does the Mishnah mean when the Mishnah says ubal imay hu v'noi? Obviously, it means your half brother. It means to mean a brother that you had that your mother gave birth to. So that's brother. So why do you need to say brother again? The Mishnah wants to list off a brother with whom you share a father is someone that you cannot say this for, and a brother with whom you share a mother you can also not say this for. Amar B'chista, Avi Chasan, Avi Kala, Muchatonim. Two Muchatonim, could they say edus one on the other? Zok Gemara, this is very good for Sheva Brachas Torah. I just don't know what the Torah will be at. Avi Chasan, Avi Kala, Me'idin Zalza, two Muchatonim could say edus one for the other. V'loy damu la'adadi. The only comparison, only connection two Muchatonim have is Elaki Achla Ladana. One's like the barrel, and one's like the cover. So I was trying to develop what is that comparison. Two Muchatonim, one's like the pot, and one's like the cover. I guess one has a big mouth, and one tells the other guy to shut up. What? That doesn't fit. So I'm still working on that. What does that mean? But I'm assuming one's a big barrel, means a big fat mouth, talks too much. The other Mechutin says, put a lid on it. So could be that's what the comparison. Amar Rabba Bar Chana, made Adam L'ishtoi Arusa. What if you're not Nesua, you're only in Arusa, she's not considered your family yet, not considered She'er, and therefore you could still say edus on her behalf. Amar Avinu Lo Yamaran Ela Lafu Kamina. You could only say edus that will be detrimental to her, that she should lose money. He's not believed to get her more assets because he knows ultimately he's going to get access to those assets, so he's going to give it over. But it's not true. He's not believed. My data, why would you have said that he would be Neman? He doesn't become an oynein for her if she dies. In other words, Rashi says the halacha of an oynein is that you cannot eat kachim. And Ishta Yerusa dies, you could eat kachim. If he's a kohen, he can't be metama to her. She doesn't become an oynein to him. And she's not mechuyev to become tameh for him. Mesa, if she dies, and the Yarsha, he doesn't Yarshin her. Meis who, if he died, then Goivik Subasa, if the Ksuba said that it's active at the time of the Erison, then she would have a right to collect her Ksuba. Zakta Gemara, Hasan b'she'erai tala rachmana. There, what makes a woman, his wife, Lagabi Oinon, Lagabi Metamala, Lagabi Yerusha, is she'er. Katilav she'er. Until the Nasuin, she's not considered his she'er. Hacha, here we're discussing whether he's Nemanal to aid. It's Mishum Mikru V'daitahu. It's because they have a connection which would make him liable to maybe misstate the facts. He still has that relationship, and therefore we cannot allow him to be an aid. Okay. I don't think we should continue because this is a little bit complex. So we'll have to leave this for tomorrow, and we'll have to work extra hard tomorrow to catch up. And we could easily do that because I could come on time, and Kair Steer is not here anymore, so we'll be able to catch up. They left already, yeah. So hopefully they'll have an awesome, wonderful day. And we should have an equally successful day here back at the ranch.